Hello and welcome to this yet another edition of the Print Live. And the answer that we are the answer to the question that we are answering today would be, how will the terror attacks in Sri Lanka impact the South Asian region? So please do send in your questions through our FB page as well as on our YouTube channel, and I'll try and answer maximum questions possible. Now, the question is, as I said earlier, is how will the terror attacks in Sri Lanka impact the South Asian region? Remember that South Asian region has been impacted by terrorism for several years. The terrorism that is sponsored from Pakistan, or the terrorism that is faced by Pakistan. India has also been an example where we have been the victim of terrorism for decades now, and so at Sri Lanka because of the LTT movement. Now, however, the attack that took place, target on Easter, targeting the churches, several churches and hotels in Sri Lanka, in Colombo on Sunday, is a grim reminder of the fact that terrorism has gone ahead and has taken a new shape in this region. Now, this is something that is a matter of great worry for not just the Sri Lankans but also for India as a whole. Remember that at this point of time, India is now surrounded by radical extremists operating not just in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, but also now in Sri Lanka. So yes, it's a matter of concern. Do send in your questions. I already have a question coming in from Rahul, and he's asking whether, well, what Rahul is essentially asking is whether Pakistan has a role in these terror attacks. Well, this is only an investigation would be able to really shed light on this particular development, whether Pakistan is indeed involved in this terror attack. But yes, there have been concerns in the past of radicalization that has taken place in Sri Lanka because of the involvement of various Pakistan groups which operate under the umbrella of being a social organization. So it has been a matter of concern, and this is something that has been raised by not just India but also by Sri Lanka itself. Now, if you've seen that the statements that have come in from the Sri Lankan leadership along with the Sri Lankan the defense ministry clearly indicates that there's a possibility of a foreign hand been involved. But if you're asking whether Pakistan as a state is involved or not, is something that one will have to wait and see. But yes, there could be linkages to various terror groups that are operating in Pakistan to the terror attacks that have taken place in Sri Lanka on Sunday. I have a question coming in from Preeti, and she's asking, what does this mean for India? As I said earlier, Preeti, that this is a matter of very serious concern, because remember that India is now facing extremism or radicalization and extremism not just from Pakistan but also from Bangladesh side. So now here we have a situation in which there is a huge number of radicalization that has taken place in Sri Lanka, and this is a matter of concern. Remember that 13 Indian nationals have lost their lives in this terror attack, targeting not just the churches but also hotels, which means that they're targeting foreign nationals. So yes, it's a matter of concern. India and Sri Lanka have been engaged in close military as well as security cooperation. I think what you will see in the coming days is these ties getting much stronger and much deeper. I have a question coming in from Aditi, who's asking, does Pakistan need this is from Shubhajit Roy. Does Pakistan need greater sanctions and actions from the international community? It is a hotbed, no one can deny that. Yes, absolutely, Shubhajit. There is no doubt that Pakistan continues to be the hotbed of terror, not just in this particular region, but also across the world. And the fact is that there needs to be a strong action that needs to be taken against Pakistan. A diplomatic, the various countries should come together. That is India, US, France, UK, Russia, and even China should come on the same page when it comes to tackling terror. The fact is that Pakistan needs to take action against the terror organizations operating from its soil. It should stop the policy of using terror as a state policy. Now remember that while Pakistan keeps calling it the non-state actors, the fact of the matter is that the Lashkar-e-Taiba, or be it the Jaish-e-Mohammed, or be it any other terror organization that operates from the soil of Pakistan, they are nothing but state actors, because they're an extension of the Pakistan establishment, they're an extension of the Pakistani army and the ISI. I have a question coming in from Aditi, and she's asking whether radicalization is a matter of serious concern or not. Well, Aditi, there is no doubt about the fact that radicalization is indeed a matter of serious concern. Now, you would have seen that remember the first suicide bombing that was ever that was introduced into this world was in Sri Lanka itself by the LTTE, and on Sunday you had multiple suicide bombing taking place in which over 300 lives were lost. Now, why is this attack a very serious example, a very heinous example of radicalization? Because remember that this is an attack which has been carried out by the ISIS. The ISIS has claimed responsibility for this attack. Now, if you go through the history of Sri Lanka, you would see that there has not been that kind of religious prosecution that has taken place in that country, which would make one believe that such kind of a religion based attack could have taken place. But this radicalization, this attack was said as a response to the attack on the mosque in the two mosques in New Zealand, in which several Muslim people were killed, and this attack in Sri Lanka is considered to be a response to that attack. So remember that this is because of radicalization, and this attack was carried out purely and purely because of radicalization. And if you see the profile of these bombers, some of the bombers who have carried out this strike clearly show that it is not poverty, it is not lack of unemployment, it is not lack of any resources or the fact that they were poor that led them to join the terror ranks. One of the suicide bomber was actually he's done his studies from UK. The two suicide bombers, they're actually brothers, and they belong to they are sons of a rich spice merchant in Sri Lanka. So these are the kind of people that have carried out this attack. So this clearly shows that the radicalization is clearly high, and it's not just the Sri Lankan government that will have to take steps to ensure that radicalization, that a de-radicalization program is initiated and these radical elements are taken out, but it's also other countries that will have to chip in and help. And this is where India would really play a crucial role, because remember that in the past, India and Sri Lanka have had very close security and defense cooperation, but this cooperation needs to go much deeper. I have a question coming in from Prashant. Is asking, why did Sri Lanka not acted on intel and we shared before the attack? Well, it is a fact that India did share intelligence about possible attacks that could have taken place. It shared intelligence about the radicalization that is taking place. Well, I'm not really sure whether these were pinpointed intel or not. But yes, the Sri Lankan leadership have accepted the fault, and they have said that the information was not it didn't percolate down to the system, and that is something which is a matter of serious concern, and they'll be looking into it. One reason why probably that these intel alerts and all miss this radar is because there's already a political turmoil that is happening in Sri Lanka, in which they are where the government is fighting its best to stay in governance, and maybe in between all the internal dynamics that were into play, these intel inputs sent not just by India but other countries also fail through percolate down to the system. Well, another question that we're asking is, are we going to increase our counterintelligence operations in direct response to these kind of attacks? Well, we don't carry out any counterintelligence operations in Sri Lanka, as far as Sri Lanka is concerned. But yes, India and Sri Lanka do share a very deep, security and defense cooperation, which extends to the intelligence community too. But what you will see in the coming days is that more such cooperation taking place. There would be a deeper cooperation. There would be much more interaction between the two countries, and India would surely do all it can to ensure that Sri Lanka remains safe. Because remember, there is not this radicalization, this terror that has taken place in Sri Lanka is not just a concern for the Sri Lankan government and its people, but is also a matter of concern for India. I have a question coming in from Shiv, and is asking whether the terror groups what Shiv is asking is whether these terror groups operating in Sri Lanka can pose a threat to India as well. Well, this is remember that it was the ISIS has claimed responsibility for this attack. ISIS is terror 3.0, and what I mean by terror 3.0 is the fact that ISIS doesn't mean that it's not a centrally controlled organization. ISIS is an ideology that spreads. So there are chances of lone wolf attack taking place. There are chances of few people coming together and responding and owing their allegiance to ISIS and carrying out a particular attack. Not necessarily that somebody sitting in an ISIS headquarters would go ahead and would plan out such attacks. So yes, it is a matter of concern that the spread of ISIS ideology is a matter of concern. This radicalization that is taking place both on the internet and physically on the ground is something that all countries need to really fight against, and hence this will continue to be a concern for India. Thank you so much for joining into this live. Do log in tomorrow again around the same time, where one of my colleague would be taking questions on the biggest news story